Welcome to this exciting edition of Unguwa. I'm here with, I will allow her to introduce herself as I do with most guests here. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, hi to everyone. My name is Zama Mthombeni, and I don't know what else is going to be relevant for people to know about me. I work in the academic space. Currently, I'm still in the United States, but I'm South African by citizen, and I've been visiting the US for the past 2.5 months, and my visitation is coming towards an end. So I'm mostly a very diverse person who's interested in a whole load of things.
Right.
Yeah.
That is exactly how I would introduce you. A diverse person interested in a whole lot of things. Before we come to the US, which you just mentioned, let's go back to South Africa, where it all
Yeah.
started. And in many ways, is where it all started for me too. When I talk these days, I always mention South Africa, and people go like, "Ah, you love that place, eh?" And I was like, "Yeah, South Africa is home to me, as well as much as Nigeria is, and Canada as well." So we met in South Africa. Can't remember the year. Could have been 2010 or 2011, but I remember a young lady who was very serious about her studies, who would come to the library almost every day and worry my life, as we say in Nigeria. You really, got me on my feet as far as my work was concerned. So you had all the questions about books, about theories. How was it for you, young, committed? Because I mean, I was there and I saw a lot of people who, for them, the university was a place where they were trying to find themselves and making a lot of mistakes and being all over the place. You stood out. I think that was what piqued my interest. You stood out because of your diligence and your commitment to your studies. Do you remember those early days?
I remember them. It feels as if when you're saying 2010, 2011, now I'm trying to count that's 14 years ago. But it still feels as if it's yesterday, right? Because the memories are just as fresh. And I think one of the things that drove me to become like that is that there was a lot of fear. Because when we used to hear stories of what it looks like to go to university, you'd hear that there's a lot of freedom and you must be careful because now you're in a terrain where you are in a space with people who are significantly older than you and what that looks like for a young person. And I think speaking from myself, I was very cautious during those times because I really didn't want to land myself in trouble. So, so that was the person that you came across, a very anxious person.
You didn't seem anxious though.
I hid it behind the grit of wanting to learn.
I didn't like the name you gave me though. Yeah. I was always resisting it. You were calling me, what was that name?
It was Mkulu, so which means grandpa. But there's a story behind the name.
What was the story?
The story was the tendencies of you forgetting our meetings. So that forgetfulness and that nature of you forgetting then landed you that name.
Was I that forgetful? Well, what can I say? I had a lot on my mind.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't blame you.
Yeah, so what were you taking at the time?
So I was doing my bachelor's in psychology and political science.
Mm.
And I think what connected me to you was the political science part. And I remember you always used to pick on me why I chose psychology. And
Really?
I told you that, yeah, and I told you that I wanted to understand how the minds of the people who are in the political space work. You laughed. Was
I'm,
it politics and psychology?
I'm
Yeah,
I'm not sure that I laugh because of the connection you are trying to make. Maybe because of the way you said it, just even now,
yeah,
it's funny to me.
yeah. Because even when I think about it, it's funny. So,
So did you manage to do that in your how many years or so? What happened at the end? What did you end up with?
I still cannot diagnose a lot of politicians. I failed.
I guess that's why I laugh. I was like, good luck to you.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And hope that did not discourage you in any way.
No, 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 not at all.
Okay. Yeah, of course, you are here today. But so from there, what
Yeah,
trajectory did you take from your undergrad in psychology and
yeah.
politics?
So during the time that I was still doing the undergraduate degree, so I worked in the library.
Oh,
And then I ended up
oh,
tutoring political science mostly. Then I landed my first job after I finished the degree with an NGO around Pietermaritzburg because that's where we were based. And I worked with them for like a year because they were working closely with the Office of the Premier, doing a lot of youth development work. And that was my first actual research work that I landed because I was a research slash communications officer.
mm.
Um, and I think after that, I went back to Durban. I went back home, and that's where I went to Howard College, continued tutoring there, and continued with my honors up to the PhD level.
Honors in what? And PhD
So it
level.
was international relations,
Oh,
the
you left
masters.
psychology.
I left the psychology and continued with the politics track.
Yeah.
So it
Okay.
was the honors in international relations, the masters in public policy. Then I got a bit crazy, did a second master's in local economic development,
Oh, wow.
and then I did my PhD in development studies.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. 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 Impressive is all I can say. I mean, thinking about that initial encounter, you see where that
yeah.
took you. I mean, that steadfastness, that commitment.
Mhm.
Yeah, we would just know that this person isn't here to joke around. And here you are today. Congratulations for all these achievements. And so, what was it like? I think for so many people, maybe one question we would like to know is, what was it like for you growing up in, and I'll contextualize it in post-apartheid South Africa. So you
Mhm.
talk about the fears you had starting school, the anxieties, um, and I don't know in the environment generally how that felt. South Africa is now or was emerging from apartheid. Um, and here you are, a young person going to school. And what was that like? I wouldn't know, to be honest. I haven't lived in a settler colonial setting. I think now I am in this context,
Yeah.
but not as indigenous to the context. How was it like for you in South Africa?
I think if I could contextualize by going back to the high school and primary school years, because that's where you really get the real reality of what it looks like. Because one attended the so-called former C schools, model C schools. So that meant those were your historically white primary schools, where you were taught in English and Afrikaans, and still that is currently happening. It meant that I was always negotiating my identity. And it's because of that post-apartheid, I think, era that forced one to be an overachiever, even if it was not like a natural default position.
Mm,
Because as a Black woman, you're always questioned, you're always asked to over stipulate
mm,
who you are, because or the white skin is always respected
mm,
in South Africa. So even if someone does not have a qualification or a accolade that warrants them a position, they are hardly questioned.
mm,
But for you, you'd be questioned and stripped to the core. And I think for me, that brought that energy to always want to be excellent in everything that I do so that it's not questionable. And I think with settling, there is quite a lot of racism that one has encountered in most institutions where I've worked in and in institutions where one has been trained in, right? Because even getting all these academic accolades that we're speaking about, politics of getting it is not something that we can ignore because it is a process that one goes through, it is a process that one experiences. So it's not an easy one because a lot of these institutions were not created for people who look like myself and you. These are white, former universities where in the apartheid time, Black people were not even permitted to teach, let alone even study in these institutions. So even though access has been granted physically, but you can feel that there's that sense of you do not belong, as if a favor was done for you to gain a seat at the table. So it's been interesting to see how different situations are unfolding
mm,
in this post-apartheid time.
mm. I mean, the reason I asked also, so you were
Mm,
contending with a lot of external forces. You needed to distinguish, yourself being a black
mm,
woman in a post-apartheid era, and it's the same kind of, well, maybe not the same, but I could also relate it to the experiences of a lot of minoritized people in North America as well, where because of the intersections of all their identities, they feel sometimes they have to do more to belong,
mm,
to fit in. For so many of us who moved to South Africa after the transition to a democratic era in 1994, I think we just saw South Africa as a land of opportunity. Um,
mm,
South Africa held a lot of promise for a lot of nationals from other African countries. I didn't necessarily think about apartheid and what trauma that had left behind, what legacy of violence that had left behind. So I just
mm.
felt like coming to South Africa. This is a beautiful place, and there are a whole lot of
Yeah.
opportunities. And I was also even sometimes amazed at people who weren't taking up these opportunities. People, and
Yeah.
especially South Africans who that maybe a lot of us would think are not even interested in so many of these
Mm,
opportunities, not minding the history, of the land and the struggles that their parents, their families, and some of them had to actually go through the transgenerational trauma, the vicarious trauma, and all that. So it was
mm,
later on that I started thinking about that and at least understanding with a lot of my friends, my colleagues, my classmates, who had to in a way find themselves again in this new dispensation.
mm.
So anyway, so you grew up in this context. You went to school, and
Yeah.
university we've been talking about is, for those who probably haven't picked up, is the University of KwaZulu Natal,
Yeah.
in KwaZulu Natal province. Used to be University of Natal, right?
Yes,
And then
yes,
they
yes.
add the KwaZulu to it
Yes, yes.
to indigenize it in that sense.
Mm,
Um, did you always, given where you are at now, you are an academic. Was that
yeah.
what you always wanted to do?
No, in actual fact, I have to go back to the psychology part. I've always been involved in solving people's problems. I don't know for whatever reason why. And that intrigued me in taking psychology. And also, I think something happened in the second year phase of the psychology degree that changed my mind about the field. Firstly, when I heard that to practice as a psychologist, I needed a master's degree. And because I was thinking through the difficulties of that time, I didn't see myself studying up to that phase. Hence, I dropped the psychology And also, I was told that you had to be registered throughout the year, and registering is quite expensive if you are not working. So, registering with the HPCSA, which is that professional registration site for psychologists, was quite expensive to keep up with. And one other thing is that when I went to a place in Pietermaritzburg called Fort Napier, so it's one of those, well, I call it a, we went for a clinical trial, if I could put it like that. And Fort Napier is a space for where we hold people that have a very degree of mental illnesses. So when I had an encounter of that and I thought about the possibility of waking up to this every day as a job, I changed my mind completely about psychology. And also, secondly, I didn't see myself having the excitement of sitting as a counseling psychologist and listening to people's issues because I thought that that would be a bit burdensome.
You didn't want to solve people's problems again.
I think I wanted to stop. Then an interest came to mind about research. I had not heard anything about research because, to be honest, in a lot of our African communities, when you are asked as a young child, what do you want to be when you grow up? You speak about things that are immediate to your space. A lot of our parents were, it's either they were police officers, they were nurses, or they were teachers, because those were the typical vocations that you find a lot of Black people in. So there's so much right now. You have people who are social engineers, you're having people that are doing something that is out of the norm, and research has never been something that has been introduced in that Black space, if I could put it like that. So it's something that I explored and encountered by the virtue of being in an academic space. And it's my supervisor who actually said I should consider a career in research because of how he interacted with me and felt that I had the right credentials, the right interpersonal skills that would make a good academic. So I think, yeah.
I think that supervisor was spot on. Who is that supervisor? Let's give him his onions, as we say now.
So he's Dr. Olusolo Ogunubi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah, we were together at the time in at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Uh,
yes, yes,
yeah, wonderful. Thank
yes.
you, Dr. Shola, for encouraging this superstar academic. So do you enjoy what you do?
I do,
Okay.
because if I could look also at my career track, there's a lady that I was speaking to yesterday. Her name is Asuka. She's from Japan, a very lovely academic that I met here in the United States. And when she was just going through my LinkedIn profile, she asked me an interesting question to speak about my career trajectory because people think that I just went straight onto academia. So I have worked for government, then I went back to academia.
Mm,
So why I want to contrast this in answering your question is that when I was in government, I think I applaud the type of work that goes behind the scenes to ensure that we have these basic services.
mm,
And I understand that it's not a clear-cut issue. I got to understand bureaucracy. I got to understand how administration and politics merge in order for citizens to have access to these services. But I felt that it was not extrapolating the core of who I am, and I could not contribute fully. So when I went back to academia, I felt challenged. Each and every day, I felt that there's this long space that I need to fill in order to reach the ceiling. Whereas the job that I had in the municipality was quite repetitive and it was not as enticing and intellectually stimulating, if I could put it like that.
mm,
So with the academic space, then why I've never turned back after that is that I found that I am able to articulate myself, contribute, and also be intellectually expanded. Because even with the PhD, one is forever learning, one is forever finding something new, and one is always trying to build up their expertise and their voice. So it's like you're chasing something that's here, but also very far away from you.
Absolutely. To use your own
Yeah.
expression, I do honestly believe that the academic space is extrapolating the core of who you are, as evidence, as evidence in your work, in your outreach activities, your research, your public
Yeah.
speaking, your public lectures. You've been actually to my class and inspired one of my students to look at South Africa as a case study for her global political economy assignment. So indeed, you are flourishing here.